I love this Rock Island Armory 10mm 1911. In fact, it is my favorite 10mm. I love this pistol. But one of the things that I had a little issue with was the magazines. And at first, no big deal, but after a while, sometimes the magazines would just drop free. And of course, Rock Island Armory doesn't produce these magazines, and they would still function, fire, and shot a lot of rounds using these magazines. But I decided I wanted to really upgrade and try something a little different. And I'd heard that the Wilson combat mags were excellent. So here we have some of the stainless Wilson 9-rounders compared to the traditional factory 8-rounders. The 1911's come a long way, and there's been a lot of improvements to the original design, making it more reliable and just a better shooting pistol. And that's really important for self-defense, especially since these guns have become very popular for concealed carry. Now, not necessarily this size, the full-size government, but more of the smaller models. And one of the big downfalls has been the traditional magazine, which even this is not a traditional magazine for the 1911. This is a Metgar, and with the stainless steel, but these improvements in magazines help with reliability of the firearm. Now, this is a 10mm Rock Island Armory, a 1911, and this gun is just a lot of fun to shoot. The 1911, because of the way that you can grip it and the thin grip, the low bore axis, to me really makes an excellent candidate for 10mm, which is pretty powerful. But with that, a lot of times magazines can be a problem. And the Rock Island Armory magazine, which is excellent, it will drop free every once in a while from the gun, and I guess a lot of that has to do with the excessive recoil of the 10mm. But it was one of the problems that I really was wanting to address, and to get some good reliable magazines. And so why not go with the best? And I picked up a couple of Wilson. These are the Wilson 10mm. They're 9-in-1, 9 in the magazine. Of course, you can put one in the chamber. This is the full size, has a standard base plate. And we're going to take a look at some of the reasons why I really like Wilson. Wilson Combat's been around for 30 years. They've been building, to me, the best 1911s ever. I mean, they're just incredible firearms. Their prices can reflect that, in the thousands of dollars. But they're still extremely popular, even at that price. You may not be able to afford a Wilson Combat handgun, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's the Lamborghini of the 1911 world. Now, these magazines are specifically the number 47 NX Legendary magazine. This is a little card that comes with it, but what's really cool is that these guys really put together a phenomenal package of information. I mean, for just a magazine, this is incredible. And this also follows along with all the different magazines that Wilson offers. They definitely, of course, 45, 9mm 40, all the different calibers that are made for the 1911, you're going to be able to find them in the Wilson. It is the one area in your gun, if you start to have malfunctions, that you need to check, because the magazine has a lot to do with the feeding, obviously, with the magazine. Wilson starts out with a tube of stainless steel. This is aircraft grade tubed stainless steel. It's been heat treated to maximum strength. And, really the magazines are not getting a lot of tension on the body, but typically right here at the feed lips. That is really where you need to be careful. But also, one of the great things about the Wilson is the follower. The follower has been made to where it will not tilt forward. It rides in the magazine body very smooth, and it is a glass-filled nylon, so it's going to be self-lubricating. One of the things I'm going to show you, though, is lubricating it will improve the smoothness of the magazine, not necessarily the reliability. Another thing about these magazines is that you can take them apart, clean them out, and that's a big one. We're going to break it down as well. Now, here the Metgar magazines, kind of typical of your 1911. Even though these are excellent magazines, I used to use these quite a bit with competitive shooting, with IPSC matches and things like that. In fact, it's still pretty dirty. The problem is the base plate is solid onto the magazine body. I did have some weights here to be able to drop free the magazine a little more, so you're going to see a little bit of that, holes drilled. But one thing I want to show you is right here, how the magazine, the front of the follower, can actually go down like this and catch on the magazine. Because the round actually feeds this way, that's not typically a huge problem, but it can be a problem, and it can cause malfunctions if you're not careful. Okay, here with the Wilson follower, it rides in here. There's nowhere for it to really catch, so it's going to ride very well inside the body. Now, another advantage of the Wilson magazines is that it's 0.27 inches thick, the walls of the tube. So that is the thickest in the industry. And so that's actually going to give you more stability. Once you're putting rounds in here, they can flex a little bit. It can bow. So you want to be careful to have good strength right here to keep the shape of the magazine. And of course, that's just going to keep it flowing in and out of the magazine well and just make it a much smoother fit and finish, especially when you're changing magazines. With 9-in-1 in the magazine, you definitely want to make sure you get a good wrap on that. Comes out really easily, but that's resting right there on the top of on the bottom of the slide. So with 9-in-1, but really, it's holding up very well. Very slick, very smooth. The magwell on the Rock Island Armory really helps facilitate those magazines right into battery. So they're already slick and, you know, well made. Of course, Wilson Combat's legendary. There we go. With the action open though, it's much easier to get all 9 rounds in there really easily. It just locks up solid. Now, Wilson Combat right here on the base pad. The base pad is 0.35 inches and it is again removable. Right here you have a small hole. Just place a punch or some kind of pick and then just push the base forward. Now keep your finger over the latch plate right here. Now, and then you're going to see this small indentation which rides in the base plate. But there are lips that come over that contain or capture the latch plate. So to get that out, you just take and push the latch plate forward. Now there again, be careful with this spring, even though it should catch on the lips. There we go. And then you can remove this. This is going to allow you to be able to remove your spring either from the back or from the front. You can just pull it out. The springs used are a high tensile strength. These are really heavy duty springs and they give long life. And one of the things that Wilson purports, and one of the things I'm going to test over time, it'll take time to do it, but to load these full and to leave them loaded, Wilson guarantees that these will retain the life and still give you adequate tension to be able to get those rounds out. A lot of the magazine springs get a little weak. This one, it's pretty weak. I mean, you can tell there's not a lot of tension you need to push that magazine down. Here with the Wilson mag, it is a nice, strong tension. It's going to be solid. It's going to give you solid contact with your round. Now, the magazine follower does not come out of the bottom because of these lips, so it has to be removed from the top. And you'll notice there's a small little hole right here to be able to take a punch or some kind of tool, and you just pull this right out. Because of the nylon, it's not going to deform the lips of your magazine. And this is the glass-filled reinforced nylon. It's going to be, again, self-lubricating, but one of the great things or one of the recommended things, even by Wilson, is to make sure you lubricate the follower, and it just gives it a little more oomph when it's coming through. So I'm going to put a little bit of break free on here. You could use a lot of different things. On the sides is really where you want to get it. And that's also going to lubricate the body as well, or the tube. One of the things too is while cleaning, you're going to do this same process. Make sure you clean your springs, keep them free from debris. Things that can get caught into the magazine spring, get caught into the follower. Now the spring does have a top and a bottom, and it has a right and left. And so this is the area right here, this little hook is where you're going to put the spring. That's the way it's going to fit. Now we'll enter this into the bottom of the tube. Right here there's a little straight hook that goes at the bottom, and this again is going to retain your latch plate as it stays into the bottom and holds in your base plate. Now just reinsert your follower, and you can do that without a tool. It just snaps into place. Next we're going to take our spring in the right orientation and just slide it into the magazine body. And it will rest right on those lips. But you want to be careful because they can kind of pop out. Take your latch plate push it down, and just set it right into place. Then take your base plate. Now the bottom, that little nub is going to fit right in this hole, and it just snaps, and there you go. You've got it all lubed up, you're ready to go. You can clean it that way. Just makes it really nice. It's going to add a little bit of lubricity to the nylon. It's going to make it really smooth. Now, while a little bit of lube is good, it's not a lot of lube is better, because what happens is you're going to build up debris and everything else in your magazine, because oil and lubricants attract dirt and grime. So a little bit light coat is really good. Again, you don't want to load this thing up. Also, putting a little bit on the body of the magazine, and that's going to help with feeding of the magazine into the magazine well. Makes it really nice. Now, because of the shape and the smoothness of the magazine, they are drop free. They just come out really smooth, easy to insert, easy to replace, easy for mag changes. Even when you're sitting at a table in your shop. Because of the recessed area in the follower, it makes it really easy to load your magazine. It just goes in very smooth. And of course, that's just on that first round, but that's the one that's the hardest usually to get started. Of course, you see all the rounds. When you know you have 9, you'll see a little brass coming through this hole at the bottom. And another added benefit is I've added one more round to 9-in-1 over 8-in-1 with the traditional Rock Island Armory magazine. So this gives me a really an advantage on quality, durability. These magazines will last you a lifetime. Now, these magazines are a little more expensive than your typical magazine. They run $37.95. These are the best magazines on the market for the 1911. There's a lot of others out there that are pretty comparable, pretty close, but the Wilson Combat, with the tradition and the skill that they use in all the things they do, you can put a lot of confidence in the Wilson Combat magazine. Plus, Wilson offers the no-risk service policy, and that means that if your magazines ever fail in normal use, they'll replace it. And these magazines are made in the USA. But guys, I'm going to have to really be honest with you. The reason for this review was not only to show off these Wilson Combat magazines and to give them a big thumbs up, but the Rock Island Armory 10mm Tactical is fantastic. And what's really cool is they took off this big billboard off the side of the slide now. The new models have just a small little logo here on the back. This is an excellent pistol. VZ grips, fiber optic sights. It just feeds extremely well. It handles well. Really, it eats recoil. I love this handgun. As far as, I have a Glock 20, which I really love the Glock 20. But if I had to choose over one or the other, it would be the Rock Island 1911 in 10mm. And here's a few reasons why I like the Rock Island Armory 10mm. So make sure you check out wilsoncombat.com. A lot of cool things on their website. If you're looking for specific parts, if you want the best, you can go to Wilson Combat and they'll have it. And if you want to get more information about the Rock Island Armory 10mm 1911 and all the 1911s made by Rock Island Armory, you can go to us.armscorps.com. Also, which I really love, and you guys have seen it on this channel, is the Rock Island Armory 22 TCM. And we're getting ready to do some new things with that coming up soon. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. make it that much more difficult in this round. So very solid. Anytime I have my 10mm, got to be shooting it with a cigar. Man, that's a cannon. I love it.